Okay, baby, we have a lot to get into when it comes to this, child.
How long we got?
We are back. Abigail's back at it again, child. We're back with the Potomac reviews, and I know that Potomac is something that I don't review as much anymore, and it's not going to be as highly viewed and whatever. But we don't care, child. We just want, even if there's one person out there who likes these Potomac reviews, that's all we care about, because there's a lot to get into with part 2. We got to break this down, child. But first, let's just let's just cheers. And let's get into this mess.
Because we're gonna get thirsty, boy. Because there's a lot to talk about.
Listen. Hey guys, it's Moran Rolly. Hopefully you guys are all doing well today. Back and again with another video. Back and again with Abigail.
Potomac Blue Mondays.
Potomac Blue Mondays, child. She's giving you an outfit. This whole coat is everything. We're both giving you blue. It's the only blue thing I had.
Trying to fit the theme. That's good. It's okay. We really compliment each other. Right. I'm just saying.
Only we think that I had, child. But subscribe to the channel, daily and consistent content. And normally part 2 of reunions are quite boring.
Yeah, like a filler. It's normally the filler, isn't it? But jeez.
Like, where do we even begin with this? Like, Abigail even wrote some notes.
I'm trying to remind myself because there was just so many things, so much to cover.
So much to cover when it comes to this episodes. But we're gonna get right into the colorism part. The segment of that. I felt like even though the ladies didn't want to moderate it, there should have been somebody there.
Definitely. I feel like it was just my frustration was, first, well, do I even want to applaud Bravo? Because part of me wants to be like, I want to applaud them for trying, but I feel like it's for their own gain. They've seen the audience reaction, they were like, if we don't, but I just feel like they rushed it, and I feel like they needed a moderator to help it, because 1, it was too much of a short segment, and 2, I feel like it puts the onus too much on Candice and Wendy, the women who are kind of being wrong, the dark-skinned women, to facilitate a conversation in a space that is not safe for them. You could tell like Wendy, and I don't know if anything's been cut out, Wendy can obviously confirm, but it just felt very much like you're walking on eggshells. Candice tried. I appreciate how she started with I think that was smart with the definition, like, let's really lay out what it is. Do we all understand? Yes, before, so no one can come and say, which Giselle ended up doing anyway, I'm confused, but we all understand what colorism is. So I feel like she started well. But it was there's just too much to do in that little time, I think. And I feel like they needed to, especially as it's Black History Month in America, like have maybe a full episode, separate episode, bring people in, bring like...
At least half an hour.
Yes, some commentators and people to really help understand it in the whole scope, because there's so much nuances that were just missed. Instead, it's Candice trying to defend, trying to explain, and then, of course, it becomes personalised, and then people say, well, it's more about you, not the issue. I think it was getting too lost in it. Way
too lost in translation. And I felt like nothing was kind of being spoken about. Karen made a good point as well. Talk about how Candice feels. I'm glad that Ashley, said to Wendy and Candice, I acknowledge my privilege of... At least. But I feel like that touches the surface of it. And I feel like we only ever have conversations of colorism when it comes to why is somebody in the public eye as a lighter-skinned person being favoured more than a darker skinned person, and I feel like there's a lot more to
There's
colours.
So much nuances I think got missed, and that's why they needed somebody else, because it's very hard for them in that situation to not it just become a personal thing. And I just feel like what I think frustrates me, we all understand, we see it on the Bravo Housewife shows, people understand racism, people can understand or even if we understand the different levels, for instance, Garcelle, we see on Beverly Hills, there's microaggressions he faces. Nobody's saying they're outright necessarily racist people, but we understand the different levels of it. And then I feel like colorism, which is literally the child of racism, is all about white supremacy. Like, people just don't get how that can be exhibited on a show like this. And that's what I feel like Candice was trying to do, which is why it becomes frustrating, because Candice is it's like you want to kind of put a bubble and be nice to people saying, oh, I don't think you're colorist. But then it becomes a defensive thing. But it's like, I think there is things, like she pointed out, it is how the audience perceives. But it's also things that I think they do and exhibit that might not be intentional.
Right, definitely.
But it's their privilege. And I think Giselle really showed her ass in that situation, because I think Giselle doesn't want to highlight. I think she doesn't really want to act like she understands, because she has to really address her own privilege and how she benefits from it.
Conscious effort.
Literally.
As Karen said. Literally.
And that's the thing, that's why I can applaud Karen for at least saying that, because I feel like that's what Giselle doesn't want to do. She doesn't really want to kind of understand how they're treated differently in ways.
Yeah, even when Mia spoke about the fact that she's raising children darker than her, it's a battle that she hasn't experienced, but I feel like that was kind of used to evade her own
Exactly,
responsibility
exactly.
for how it played a role. You know, was that I expected the conversation of colorism to also reflect on the fact that Wendy was treated completely different in that argument with Mia.
Isolated, yes.
Completely isolated,
Literally.
perceived to be different by her own castmates as well, and how there's colorism involved here.
Yeah.
And I just feel like that wasn't really done properly.
But they didn't want to acknowledge that, because then they literally have to talk about how they're complicit, how they benefit. And I feel like that's where you really saw Giselle and Robin, who to me, I think exhibit the most. I think they all show levels of it, but I think even how they all engaged with it showed their different levels, showed that Mia, I'm not trying to like justify everything, but Mia is more a level of like just general ignorance and privilege. Same with Ashley. Karen probably as well, navigating life. I feel like, I don't want to say it's a conscious effort, but I think that's how I feel. Giselle has been able to navigate and benefit things in a certain way that I think she doesn't really want to, because Giselle, like I said, is a very educated woman. She's a smart woman. She went to university. Her granddad's a civil rights leader. She understands the nuances of these things.
Precisely.
But she wanted, I think, to remove herself from it. And I feel like, yeah, they're constantly complicit. Like you said, I think there's often a very high standard for, I feel like Wendy and Candice are always put to a high standard of how things they have to do. The things Candice says, the things Wendy says, they're more likely to be mean, aggressive. They're the words that are used for them. But then with Giselle, Robin, Ashley, everything's always quite fun. Oh, they're just being shady.
Especially
they're messy.
Robin.
Yeah, they're just messy, shady girls. They're the green-eyed bandits. It's like...
When she walked up to Wendy, when she walked up to Monique as well, put her hands on Ashley's face. But I'm glad they showed those clips.
Literally, I think that they're trying to put things in context, but I just feel like in that amount of time, it was very tricky. And again, it puts the onus on the dark-skinned women to facilitate the conversation. And even the privilege was shown a bit in the fact that Candice tried to explain it, and then Karen had to come in, and I appreciate Karen coming in.
Right.
But then it's that almost the idea of, I have to use my privilege now as a light-skinned woman to try and explain it for you to effectively see it. And then some people started to somewhat understand it more. But that's what I think the constant battle is. And I think, yeah, I think there's examples. I feel like Giselle does a lot of, to me, coded things. Like I think I was saying that, I know she's always pointing out, well, one, we've said, I think we can go back to that, the visceral hate for Wendy's too much. Like, it's literally to the point where you're isolating her from the whole group because of what? Because you clashed last season. But have you not clashed with Karen? Karen called you sing, mental health. Ashley and you lot have clashed. You were in each other's faces. You've clashed with so many people. But now you really want to actively isolate this person. And kept on saying it during the show. Literally, I don't like her. Everything was directed at
That's
Wendy.
the issue with the show.
Candice is actually the one you've had the biggest issue with as well. But like, it's so ridiculous in that sense. But I feel like there's always, I lost my train of thought. But yeah, I feel like there's so much of that kind of double standard. Oh, that's what I was saying. I'm all over the place. I feel like Giselle, I noticed, when it comes to Candice and Wendy, on 2 occasions now, she's done that. She's done that this season with Mia. She was like, oh, Mia, I think Wendy's jealous of you. And she did that a few seasons ago with Candice and Ashley, saying to Ashley that, oh, Candice is jealous. She wants to be like you. And it's like, when you really break down both those people's lives, look at Mia's life and look at Wendy's life. Mia and Ashley actually have very similar lives in terms of coming from traumatic pasts, kind of like marrying older men to kind of gain kind of power and stuff. Whilst both Candy and Wendy, it's come from their own accomplishments and stuff. So when you really break down their different lives, what could they be jealous of other than, and people could say maybe I'm making assumptions, other than I think Giselle feeling like those women look a certain way and Candice and Wendy want to be like them, because on paper, literally, it doesn't make sense. Candice and Wendy have better lives than them. So I feel like there's a lot of coding, and I think that's what Wendy kept on alluding to with dog whistling. There's certain things that are often implied in this group about some of us, and we're put to a higher standard compared to like the lighter skinned women. There's certain words that are used about us being ferocious, us like certain things. So I think Wendy was alluding to it, and it'd be interesting to see if Wendy says why it felt like, again, it's probably because Wendy doesn't feel safe in this group to speak the way she wants to. But that's why I feel like it was kind of a disservice not to bring a moderator.
So who would you would have suggested as a moderator?
We were talking about this, isn't it? It's tricky.
Nina.
Yeah, I think you do need kind of that black journalist person. So someone who can be fun and shady, but has the right journalistic skills to write, who will do the research and say, look, I'm coming in to ask the right questions. I want to bring the whole context in about how we all understand racism. So if colorism derives from racism, can we understand how it might not be intentional what some of you guys are doing, but your privilege is making you maybe act a certain way.
Right.
Like, I feel like that person could have come in and really helped try and break down the nuances to like facilitate a safe conversation. Whilst this, I just feel like it started, but once again, it put the onus on Candice and Giselle. Why am I saying Giselle? Put the onus on Candice and Wendy. Giselle evidently wasn't interested, and I think just wanted to brush it past. and then it's not been dealt with. And I also didn't like Andy just sitting there. It felt very much like, why is the head teacher here watching us talk about something?
It's weird.
It was just, I see what they were trying to do, but it wasn't executed well.
It should have been a separate segment, and it should have been someone like Nina sitting there. I was thinking Iyanla to an extent, but that could be, everyone could differ. You were saying Ziwe because she's good as well.
Yeah.
But I've just only seen her in a satirical comedic light.
I think she uses the satire to bring up important issues, but you're right, it might be tricky. But I think she would do it in a way to make people think. But you know what? Because Giselle likes to play, so I'm confused. I think Ziwe's approach would actually make Giselle be able to be like, I'm too confused now. What are you trying to say? So I think you're right. There does need to be a black journalist, a black person of that, you're right, Nina Parker, that caliber, who can do the fun and shady but really break things down. And even educators, maybe someone on the side to, do you know what I mean? Like, people really research this topic to help aid the conversation.
I didn't like it when Giselle was like, to Wendy, like, the reason why I'm not empathetic because I don't like her. There's no sisterhood with this whole franchise. And this is why it would never compare to Atlanta. Because even when Nene and Kenya weren't even... They were shouting at each other 1 minute. The next minute, Kenya was consoling her. They both spoke about their mother issues or whatever, etc., etc. Even Portia and Kenya, who've beefed from day one, have had moments
literally
where they've been together.
Understanding.
And not even just season 12, back in season 5 and 6, they've had people have had there's a sisterhood connect there. And I feel like with these girls, it's not there, because many times Giselle shut Wendy down when you post their beef, to try and it's just like, well, that's also there. Then there's a colorism conversation.
There's
my
so
mental
much
health.
literally.
I don't feel safe in this room. So how can we even have a productive conversation about it? And it's constantly Candice and Wendy doing the whole,
having to lead it
as if these other girls are children and that they don't know what's going on.
And there's not that understanding. And I think there is, but people don't really want to look at that black privilege.
I read something. I wouldn't know if this is true or not, but someone said that Giselle's looks are fading and she would benefit off that when it comes to colorism. And now, because they're fading as you get older, it's a different conversation. And
I think that makes sense. I think if you look at someone like Giselle, if you know everything about Giselle, which is why she probably does struggle in that way, everything about her is about her prettiness. Remember, like, her taglines for so long was like, I'm pretty and I'm shady and like, she bases everything around that. I think she holds so much weight, and I do think it bothered her a little bit. Remember, Nikki last year said something about her looks fading. I'll never take that away from Giselle. I think Giselle's a beautiful woman, but I do think Giselle relies on... I think Giselle has navigated life, and people can, like, whether you like or not, we all know how things benefit in terms of, like, light skin privilege and privilege in general. When you look pretty privileged, all that stuff. So I think she's been able to navigate life a certain way. It's been able to afford her certain things. So maybe, it can feel a bit intimidating now, having to really think about, is that some of the main things that's helped me afford me certain things if I looked a certain way? Because that's what I go back to the Wendy's and Candice's. Like, you could even say, are they the most accomplished because they've really had to? They've had to do more things in that sense.
It's true.
As opposed to the others who've just married into it.
It's true.
That's why I feel like Ashley had so much audacity last week to be saying the thing she was saying to Candice. Like, they have let me be clear, I don't want to be classist in terms of you don't have to have a business uni degree or anything to be of substance. But I'm saying that those guys have an array of different things that aren't just through their marriage. Whilst now we're starting to see, obviously, Robin and Giselle do reasonably shady and stuff like that. But before that, what did they have of their own? What did they accumulate throughout men? And there's nothing wrong with that, but acknowledge that. Yeah. And then don't sit up there and then make Candice feel bad when she got generational wealth.
Right.
That's what you would hope you're going to give to all your children.
Correct. And the way Wendy was crying, I felt so sorry for her.
And that was another thing that just made me feel like, wow. So there's just...
Because it was really ugly what happened to her.
Yeah.
And, like, I feel like Mia would have acknowledged it there and then, looking at her, seeing her crying. But, if she didn't acknowledge it then, they don't like each other.
Yeah.
Like, there's no sisterhood because the girl was getting emotional and crying about it. Like...
But that's what I feel like is something about that mean girl thing that they all become complicit. Because I've had some element of... Like I felt like there was a point in time in the season where Mia did seem generally apologetic.
Yeah.
But it's like, you come back and it's like... Because that's nothing that frustrates me and confuses me about Mia. There's something that she's got some... real liking and loving to Giselle, and I don't understand. Robin I would understand more, because I feel like Robin is somewhat nice to her. But Giselle is always coming for you, but I feel like she always wants to, like, cape for Giselle. So it's like, I don't know if that is what is now causing her to come back. Because it seemed like by the end of the season, Giselle and Wendy... Why aren't we saying Giselle's name? Giselle, now it's looking like I'm saying Giselle. But Wendy and Mia had, like, a cool bond. But it seems like she's come back now, and maybe it's because they've all watched the season that happens. But I just don't get why you can't just be apologetic and move on.
It's weird. is really, really
Because
weird.
I agree with you. I thought it was really sad in that moment that she was crying.
That was sad.
Nobody gave a damn. And I said, this is not a safe space. So now I will come and talk about colorism and all my experience. Like, this is why this show is going to struggle to move on, because people are not, like you said, the Atlantis are not going to feel safe to be vulnerable. Like you said, even when people are clashing, Nene could still sit in that group and cry about her relationship with her mum. Like, Kenya could share her situation. You know what I mean? They could all, like, do things like that this group are not. I mean, even technically Giselle said it herself. I think that was more of an excuse, but she said, I'm not going to be sharing things in this group. And that's the problem.
Yeah.
Things aren't going to move forward if you guys can't.
Concerns.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be sharing house guys with Wendy or with
Yeah,
this, that.
like,
I just feel like it's a mess, man. This whole, I don't know, like, I just feel like it's just, everybody used to celebrate how many OGs are still in this, but is that a good thing sometimes?
Are they stagnating the show?
Yes.
This many?
Are they stagnating the show?
I think so.
Because I feel like they need to adapt the show around Candace.
I think so.
And like, again, Karen on the first chair,
Really
it doesn't make sense because you've been mute.
Yeah.
Nothing's been about you for 2 parts. Candace should have been sitting on that first chair, not Karen. And that confuses me.
Karen should have been next to her and Robin next to Giselle, because Karen and Robin, and that's what makes sense. Karen and Robin's the ones who have the feud. Then Mia's there, Wendy's there. Like, what are we doing?
There's also no moral compass. The
At
girls
all.
don't have
Literally, they just come with their chest to be saying we're hypocrites. Because that's the funny thing. I remember, and again, back to colorism point, when the trailer happened and Mia chucked the drink, there was a lot of people actually being like, Wendy probably said something to her, running her mouth and stuff. So a lot of people were, again, to me, I think, trying to find a reason why it would be justified what happened to Wendy. And then the ship sailed, I think, when the show happened and people were actually seeing how Robin was antagonizing and how hypocritical they were being. And I think that is what we mean by the moral compass. Like, you sat on season 5, Giselle, with your security guards, and you said to Monique, you basically trashed her motherhood. Didn't you rip it to her? This is not what we do as black women. You are a mother. I don't want to be anywhere near you. And that's what's actually making people more annoyed. So it's like, wow, so it really was just about icing out Monique. You didn't give a damn about Candace. You didn't give a damn about the situation. Because now you lot are clearly saying, we don't like this girl, so how she's treated. And in that moment, and that's when I was like, wow. And I feel like that's what I want to explore more with Giselle. I do feel like there's some empathy. There's something that's happened to her that, if you notice, the only time she shows any kind of emotion is when it's related to her kids.
Her children, yeah.
So I feel like we need, like, let's delve into that.
Yeah.
What happened? What did Jamal, or maybe it wasn't Jamal, but what's happened in your past that seems to be that disconnect? We never see her vulnerable with Robin, her best friend. We never see
They don't want to show it. And it's 7 seasons in.
So what are we doing? Have all the OGs given us all they can give us? Even someone as Karen, who I love. Would Karen be better as a friend who comes in for jokes? What else can Karen give us of her life? Robin could give us if Robin really wanted to, but Robin and Juan ain't going to want to give us all that.
She don't want to give us nothing, Jack.
Literally. Giselle talked about literally being on her deathbed, basically, and we didn't get any of that. So what are we doing?
What? Like, is this really reality TV? Or is this like a program, scripted? That's what it's given at this point, because we'll get onto Chris Bassett on the next review for the reunion, but none of that was reality.
Exactly.
It's scary, man.
Oh, that's nothing I wanted to talk about as well, with the whole
scary
thing that Giselle just wasn't articulating well enough. Look, I actually think Giselle has every right to have a boundary. Where the problem was you didn't articulate that to Chris. To me, that's where the confusion was. If you have a boundary, then you have every right. You have some rapport with the guy. You know the guy, to say, if he said, because I feel like it went back and forth. Did we establish he said to go to the room or she said to go to the room? Because I swear she was going back and forth. But either way, you lot ended up in the room. She had every right to say, if that was really like her being uncomfortable, I would rather not go into the room. But what you can't do is go into the room, choose to go into the room, and then decide you're uncomfortable in that moment. Well, you could, if something generally happened, but then decide, even though he's done nothing wrong, that I'm uncomfortable, and articulate that afterwards, and not articulate that to him. That's what then makes it seem like, no, girl, this seems premeditated. Because
Charlie they waited 6 months to put that on the TV.
Literally. And then when they kept on trying to ask you, Candace was trying to point out what made you uncomfortable being in the room with him. Okay, so you didn't have to go into that room with him.
No.
But you went into that room, you knew what you were trying to create. And on that, we're going to talk a bit more about that. Yeah, it sounded like it is very, literally, everyone is clutching. And I feel like her and Ashley and Robin have really showed their behinds, especially with all of this in context now. And I feel like these people are making Robin suffer, because I've never seen a reunion like this before, where every word that Robin says, They will now come and remind you that no, girl.
It's an extended 90
That's
minutes
not what you were saying before. So
for the next, but also this whole Robin Andy watch up was like we've seen it now. So what are you
literally,
showing
what
us?
else are you showing us?
I don't get it. Like,
that's what we actually could have got a further colorism conversation about. Instead, you're giving us Robin just dodging and diving. Because is Robin going to give us more? What else can Robin tell us?
not dodging and diving, child. It's the Olympics. She'd be going up and down. Mia and her friends. It is just not nice, child. Like, it's really not nice. What? Right.
And I forgot. Like, I knew they were friends, but until they broke it down, you've known each other for 30 years, and she was basically your foster. Her mother raised you, and you now came to bring her on this show and embarrass her like this. Like, there's something, again, I've just like, always trying to like, analyze people, but there's something about Mia as well, that when she feels like, she jumps on people, like, in a way that it doesn't balance each other. Literally, that's your friend, and because you feel like what? I feel like there is some jealousy. I think like Andy did try and touch on it actually, but again, things don't get explored. I do feel like there's an element of, now I've made it, like the position, I'm going to bring you into this world, you need to know your place, because it's not like now me being looked after by your family, I'm looking up. I think she wanted to look that way, and I feel like, yeah, there was some kind of wanting to, because even the little thing she was doing when she'd be like, she don't have a toothbrush, she was always trying to make her friend look dusty. Like, what's going on?
It's scary, you know.
Literally, that's when your friend
she said, Jacqueline, she said, my family and everyone are really upset with me.
Yeah, and I think there's something like, where, I don't know, she wants to be in a certain group, because that's the same energy with like Wendy. Like, you lot are going back and forth, and suddenly Wendy's sleeping with Patricia. Peter, like,
where did that come from?
It
was a complete lie that they did that, and it was just, it was deflection, throw it off.
That's what she does.
It worked.
Yeah,
because they moved on.
Yeah.
Like, why the hell would Wendy and Peter, and there's still no receipts to this day.
Literally.
Nothing that Mia said. So why would you say that out of your mouth? You're not credible. It's very damaging. And then you're coming for Wendy instead of the girl Giselle who said that your business was embezzlement. She's
come to call you like Erica Jane. If the police are at your door next year, it's because of Giselle.
Oh, child.
That's what I do have to give to Giselle, because Giselle will really come and sprinkle something. I think Giselle's really thinking ahead. She said season. This is season 8. This is 8.
Seven.
She said season 8. We will have embezzlement storyline, and me, I can just sit at home. Giselle is always 5 steps ahead. So
Mia will be in cell block D with Jen Shah.
Literally,
she will be there together with, if this is what's really going on. So I don't know. I just feel like but I do think that as the black community, you guys do have conversations on colorism, which is a step in the right direction. I don't see nobody who's brown speaking about colorism, child. Colorism.
I did actually see a comment like that saying that with all this mess, at least there was a slat, and then there was stuff with, even though it was kind of glossed over, Giselle's fibroids and stuff. It's like, we're getting to a stage where these things that happen in the black communities are being talked about, like, in a deeper way. Like, so it's a start.
It's a start.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like when it comes to the brown community, the key is not even in the car. The key is lost in the house. You know when you lost the key, that's where it is, and it is so deep and layered when it comes to colorism in the brown community, whether it be Arab or South Asian, or the
Latin community as well.
All the fair skin products they be thrown in your faces, especially when it comes to dark skinned brown girls. Like, we don't see them anywhere on TV, and it's just a mess. Let alone colorism in brown men. Like, you don't see one person speak about it. I didn't see nothing. I ain't seen nothing at all, and it's just crazy. So I feel like you guys are having a conversation about it. So and you guys have had it publicly here and there for the last 6-7 months, but I don't see anybody brown talking about colorism, child. I feel for the dark skinned brown girls. I really feel for them, because there's nothing going on.
Yeah, well, I guess it even starts with, you probably need more of the representation to be having the conversation, because where we seeing the people to then have the conversation is like, 1 step at a time, innit? You're not around, like, in the forefront of all the shows to be having a conversation.
The only one dancing brown girl is the one from Bridgerton. She's on that show.
Bridgerton. I really like her as an actress. She was on. I used to watch on Sex Education. And she's spoken quite publicly actually about it.
She's probably the only person I've seen in the past.
And that's what I did love seeing on Bridgerton. I'm like, yes, come on, because that was some of the thing with the last season, that there wasn't. It was very, other than they would say that because I watched the first season, I only watched bits of the second season. That when you would see darker people, they were literally in the background. It was like they were playing add-ons. So for them to now bring, not only representing the fact that there were loads of Indians in that time and Asian people, but then a dark skinned one was really important. So I wonder if that was, because I only watched bits of it. It wouldn't have been explored on a show to that level, I'm sure, but
I'm not dark skinned brown, but I feel like I have experienced some notes of it, because in my own family, my tone is slightly darker than my siblings.
That's always gonna,
And sometimes there are like jokes here and there thrown around, and when it hits me in a way that is uncomfortable, and I don't like it, and I just feel like, I didn't notice huge differences. Why are you?
But it all goes back to how white supremacy is literally affecting all of us.
And I'm not even like, I feel like, I don't know what you would describe me as, medium or like fair, medium, I don't know. I've never really thought about it because it's so deep in our community. But there's sometimes small things here and there. And, I'm always in the sun. So maybe that I've got like a tan or something and that has helped. Or I don't know, as you get older, pigmentation, you get darker. I'm also East African. My grandmother's Ethiopian. So, there's some of that in there as well. And Yemen is like for the darker Arabs are like from Yemen, close to. So maybe there's some of that in it as well. I don't know. Because with some siblings, they come out a little bit darker than the others. But there's some like small jokes here and there. And I'm just like...
Because I feel like there's all this level, all of us, even with the best intentions, are often trying to assimilate, isn't it? And we're told that when you're more palatable, when you're lighter, it benefits you. So I feel like it happens no matter. Sometimes, like you said, you can be lighter if you're... I feel like these things are really ingrained in us. And that's why I can have some empathy with like the girls in Potomac to like not, but I feel like you guys do understand, you like just be willing to, and I feel like that's what Karen was trying to articulate, that even if that's not your intention, let's be willing to hear.
Right.
And I feel like that's what was very disappointing to see in Giselle and Robin as well, but at least Robin stopped talking, even though you could tell Robin was being defensive, but Giselle just seemed actively aggravated, and I think she is doing a disservice because she's got brown skinned daughters, so you need to be careful what you're projecting.
Precisely. I don't know, what the moment of Giselle that I was really disappointed in was when she said to Wendy, I don't like her, and I think that was after Wendy crying.
And it wasn't necessary.
It was not necessary with somebody who just got vulnerable and emotional.
Literally, and that is what I feel like the producers on a bigger scale are failing to really break down, because we need to understand why. We all know Wendy read Giselle for filth, and rightly so, last season.
Right.
But we've established that people move on this show.
She's holding on to a child.
So she's holding on to something. And the only thing I can think of that's a weird disconnect is because Giselle only seems to show any like emotions when it comes to her kids. I do remember her randomly saying last season how her and Karen were trying to break through because Karen said like hello to her kids or something, but she felt like Wendy ignored them or something. So is that, but that, again, that's what's failing us on the show. We're not having anything broken down. So to us, it's just like, we've got a whole season of Giselle is not going to address Wendy, and we don't know why. And on this, I hope with season, well, actually at this point, episode 3, why will Andy address it? Yeah. But like, you can't. I just feel like you really need to break down what is the issue.
It's true. It's
because
really
at least,
true.
Whether Robin and Wendy made their way back to each other, at least they had that scene where they attempted, and then now I feel like the only reason Robin doesn't want to be called Wendy is because of Giselle. Because Robin and Wendy first season actually had some kind of rapport. So did Wendy and Giselle, to be fair. They all went to the same. They both went to the same HBCU, I think. But like I said, I predicted this will happen because I feel like people were cool with Wendy because of do you know what I mean? It was a means to an end. We've got a new girl in, we're trying to take another girl out.
Right.
I predicted that this would happen. I didn't think it would be as bad as it is. I feel like I've never seen like isolation of a person on a show to this level.
She was
for
really
no
isolated.
reason.
It's giving.
Literally.
Did you watch Possible Wives? OG.
Yeah. OG's. Oh wow, that was tough.
When that was tough.
But OG really held her own in a way that I think Wendy wants to, but then we saw the backlash that OG did.
And I feel like Wendy is holding her own.
I think, but I always sense sometimes there is some level of like she's just ignoring it now, which I think that's what you can do, to be honest. But it's just sad that you'll see them in scenes together and it's like, wow, we're not going to say hello. It's too weird.
You can't do that. You're meant to be an ensemble and you're meant to be a cast. But I feel like Giselle's been there from day one. She shouldn't know more than anyone. But clearly, she's just gotten away in the last 3-4 seasons of having somebody else as the storyline. Yeah. And it's like, how long can we deal with this for? Everything becomes outdated. And if you keep changing it up. So I just feel like, am I looking forward to the next season? I don't know. Because what else are they going to have?
And I feel like they need to learn to stop rushing things, because I think I read somewhere that they're literally starting again in a few months, and it's like it's actually okay to chill and work out what is the direction of this show going forward. How are we going to have organic friendships? Because even somewhere else I read and I forgot that someone said it. It's like, since season 1, there's always been a mean girl element. Like these women have never, even though they've known each other, there's never really been this real sisterhood.
What about
it's always a competition.
What about to see Charisse next episode?
Holding on. I just don't know. I feel like it's actually okay to, controversial opinion, maybe let some of the older ones go, to let, because I actually don't mind even Mia being, I feel like some connections can happen. I think Mia and Jacqueline could potentially be interested next season, see where they go, and Mia's whole life with, I think now business. Mia
is one to keep because she's open.
Yes, she might lie, but I think, and even Carlos said that on his podcast, that like he thinks she came in with the intent of, she almost came in too transparent and open. I think realized people were making fun of her, and then maybe this is where some of the extra lies are now sprinkled in.
Right.
But I think Mia came in with wanting to be open.
Right.
I think Candice is open. Wendy's open when they film her. I just feel like they don't have an interest in filming Wendy. Like these people, I think, are open. I think the OGs, which naturally happens on a show when you've been there for a while, don't want to be open. They'd rather just be deflecting, and that's literally, we should know a lot more about Michael and Ashley's like real reasons for the divorce.
I heard that he owns land in Somalia.
Yeah, what was that? That was hearing some colonization for that. Wow.
Yes. Someone says you're really a colonizer, you're owning land in Somalia and it's large amounts. He's one of the biggest owners in Somalia.
I believe it.
Why are you there?
How did you find your way there?
How did you find your way to Somalia?
I don't think having a black mixed race wife justifies anything. Why are you there?
Why are you in Somalia?
Actually, it's not from Somalia.
I don't understand that. That doesn't make no sense to me as to why
Yeah.
you're in Somalia doing the most. It just didn't make any sense. But at least we're not seeing them on camera anymore because I feel like it was just tiring to see you
That's
on camera.
privilege in itself.
Honestly.
That they were even allowing Ashley and her husband, who is being accused of sexual assault, continuously be on this show.
Oh, child.
Anything else? I'm trying to remember what else happened because anyone care about the cabaret show or whatever. What else was there to talk
cabaret
about?
show?
Karen and no one cares.
No one cares about the podcast show that they're doing.
Nothing else to say about
there's nothing else to
Wendy
say
and
about.
Mia, is there?
Just hopefully Mia comes to a place of acknowledgement and responsibility for what she's done to Wendy. Because she literally assaulted the hell out of her. And still to this day, you said sorry or whatever, but now you're not sorry again.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that sorry must have been empty because Wendy was crying to your face and you were looking at her and you still didn't feel type of way. So to me, that's just very confusing. But from the way you brought your friend on after 30 years and it's gone like that, I'm not going to be surprised.
Who are you loyal to?
Like,
Thing.
who are you loyal to?
I wonder how things work. Because I've seen things that imply that Jacqueline's quite cool with Candy and Wendy. So imagine if those three are a duo. I don't know if Jacqueline has much to give. But imagine if she comes in and they're like some trio. Because it really looks like
It's interesting.
there could be certain dynamic changes. Like we've seen Candice actively come against Robin, who I didn't realize they were as close as they appeared to be this season. I was so confused by that. I said, since when? since when
they've been close. I think it's all off camera. We've
Literally,
never seen it.
exactly.
But it's interesting when I look back at watching the season 5 reunion with the Monique Candice fight, and Wendy and Candice were very much on the side of Giselle because of Monique's actions, which I can understand. But I wish it's interesting now because season 6 they came for Wendy. Season 7 they came for Candice.
My biggest frustration was
interesting.
Yeah. I don't want to take us back to Monique Candice because obviously that was such a divisive time. But my biggest frustration was always that those two couldn't just stick together because I feel like Monique and Candice had the potential to literally run it and be that kind of Robin Giselle, like that kind of Karen Giselle, like run it. But they got lost in other people's stuff. I think both of them were insecure and like let other people feed into them and ruin their relationship.
But one thing about Monique, she's going to be mentioned at every reunion.
Yeah, because the legacy of Monique is something serious.
Because they'll be mentioning her when it comes to any kind of argument.
The Bidens, it's just really all the receipts that people bring in now. So Monique left a legacy. Got to give her that.
And when Wendy said at the end of the fight to Giselle, but when it was Monique, you wouldn't. The way she landed that point was beautiful. But yeah, I just feel like this reunion was interesting. The colorism segment could have been much longer with a moderator or somebody to have a conversation. Just at least half an hour, at least. Give us something. But at least they're being receptive to the audience this season more than ever.
Literally, that's what we wanted to say. Actually, isn't it? That they have I didn't
expect a colorism conversation on the reunion.
You can tell there's, I think, been an active effort to see the temperature of the audience and really because I felt like. Andy was in Giselle's ass more than I've ever seen, and even explicitly saying that which is what a lot of us say. You actively expect people to show their lives, but you don't show theirs. And I feel like that's not been explicitly said to her before. It's been suggestive. I'm like, oh wow, I've just really been looking in the comments like, let me comment.
But hopefully, the action comes behind that because I feel like she knows this because she's been told that by her castmates. But I don't think production cares because it brought dramatics this season and something.
And I feel like that's why she's already orchestrating a future storyline with Jason from Winter House. It feels forced. Suddenly you now have something prepared, like a relationship to put. Let's see how genuine it is, but it feels very much like, okay, let me give you lot this so I can be left alone.
They really need to mask this show around Candice, Wendy and Mia and Ashley and bring in 2 other girls.
Literally.
I know Karen and Giselle are matriarchs to the show, but I just feel like I could do a season without them.
Yeah. I could literally have... Look, I love me some Karen. Karen is good comic relief. She can pop in every so often. If you want to go and give Karen I never watched it, but if you want to go give Karen something, but I do think, it gets hard, but it's okay for seasons to change and to bring people back in. Like, obviously, I never really watched the OC, but isn't Vicky now kind of... Like, that's realistic. People grow apart. Like, older people are going to pop in and out. They're not in the same friendship dynamics. I think there needs to be a way to change it and to... but... I don't know. I think at the moment it's
struggling, child. We'll see what Chris Bassett says when it comes to the reunion and the men and Charisse and also Mia and her friends. There's a lot to look forward to for the finale. It's a 90-minute segment, so we'll just see what that happens. But this is a long review. It's half an hour. Porch, how we went in. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Let us know if you agree, disagree, comment down below on this divisive conversation that's happening. But I'm glad that there's a step in the right direction with having this conversation.
And now they need to continue.
Right, continue and make it more of a conscious effort for the next season, but we'll see, child. Giselle will do something. Robin, I think, will stay. I don't think she's going.
I think it would make sense. It's just about what she's going to be willing to show.
Now it's going to be the storyline of her and Juan.
Yeah, and I just don't think Juan's going to want to be on this TV screen. So
I commend Robin because the way that she's done 7 years of her and Juan is crazy to me. The same storyline every single season. The fact that you've done that is wild.
Yeah, she's been with him since she's like 16, isn't it? Just in this bondage of stress.
It's that season you get divorced and you get then prenups and then you're dating, then you get married and then you're not going to get married. It's just the same thing between you two. There's no uniqueness in your storyline.
He doesn't want to give us anything on screen. He doesn't even want to come and do the bare minimum and come and sit behind you at the reunion. Just come and just sit behind and pretend you care.
You know what? Robin could actually be that girl if it wasn't for Giselle.
Yeah, I think so.
Robin could be so likable.
I liked Robin for a long time. I feel like at the beginning she actually was good at holding Giselle to account, and then I thought there is some blind loyalty, and I think we've said this before. That I remember listening to their podcast once, and Giselle did say that Robin actually said that they didn't want me on the show, and Giselle begged them. So I don't know if there is some level of feeling like I have to hold Giselle down like blindly, and sometimes that works for people. I think that's what's helped them both stay on the show. Definitely. But now it's kind of going to be your downfall, so it's actually okay to separate yourself. That's why people liked Robin at the beginning of the season when she was kind of like, nah, I don't.
She was on Candice's side,
and then she switched. That. So I feel like Giselle spoke to her and be like, you need to come onto the right side. But I feel like I like Robin when she's away from Giselle. I like when Robin and Wendy were able to come together, and then it's apart again. So I feel like Robin, it's okay to stand on your own, girl.
Honestly,
you got your own thing. So
stand on your own.
Let's see more of you next season, man.
Honestly. Anyways, let us know your thoughts on when it comes to this Potomac review. Comment down below. Do you guys agree or disagree on your points and views when it comes to the reunion? Everybody was definitely heated online when it came to this conversation.
Yeah, Potomac's gonna get I feel like Potomac and New Jersey and Beverly Hills are the ones that really have people
going.
Talking.
We'll see what Atlanta gives. Apparently the sneak peek is coming for something, but I don't know. I'm over Atlanta.
Y'all down regardless, but it's tough. So please, just try.
It's tough with Atlanta, man. But it's nice that I want to see Porsche on my screens again.
Oh, of course. Ultimate Girls Trip.
And Candice said, let's talk about it.
It's a year late. Candice is giving us what Kenya couldn't because Porsche ran.
but, it's time. And I feel like, I will see how that conversation goes because they didn't show Porsche's reaction now.
Yeah.
But Candice needs to be careful because Porsche is a WWE fighter.
Yes.
This girl has fought many times on the show, so hopefully it doesn't go that way. But I don't think it did because Candice was at a wedding anyways.
Yeah, I think they're actually cool. Fine. So probably just light shade. Porsche probably threw a joke back. We don't find out anything else.
Right, and Candice and Giselle were beefing in the trailer as well. It looks like a good trailer. I'm excited for it, but I feel like they released the trailers and everything way too late.
Yeah, I've got a feeling they were trying to change. I think they're trying to wrap things up, but there wasn't too much reveal. You could have done it earlier, because I think because they're trying to wait for Salt Lake City and Potomac to wrap up, but you could have still done it halfway through the season, because we knew Candice and Giselle were beefing, regardless. And what I do find interesting, I did see it, I got another run. It'll be interesting to see how Heather and Whitney hold their own in like a group like this. Do you know what I mean? They're new to this, they're a lot of strong women, and they barely had words in that trailer. So I'm like, now the real heavyweight housewives, how y'all gonna hold your own with these women?
It would have been nice to see another Atlanta girl with Portia. She's the only Atlanta girl.
Yeah.
Who would you? Because it ain't gonna be Nene. Kenya's already done it.
Portia was a last minute replacement, a good replacement.
Phaedra won't do the freaking frat thing again.
No. Oh yeah, Portia and Eva don't get on. I was gonna say Eva would be fun, but Eva's already on another one.
She's done two.
Yeah, so who's Portia?
And who else? Candy?
Yeah. I mean, it would be fine. Yeah, maybe. Sheree, maybe at least Sheree would have come to stir something.
She would have been in the mixes and stuff. Because I thought that, it's always two of each, but there's only Portia.
Yeah. I mean, maybe they could have brought Kenya back for frenemy vibes, considering Candice and Giselle are frenemies.
Right. But then Kenya would have been with Candice interviewing the hell out of Portia with
I know. I want to see Kenya and Candice together doing something. That would be so interesting.
I feel like Candice is probably the only girl that can hang with the Atlanta girls.
Like that, yeah.
Atlanta peak girls.
Literally. That's what I always say. Because people say that Giselle and Kenya are friends. I'm like, because they're on different shows.
Please.
They will be... Kenya would not be able to deal with Giselle. They'll be fighting.
Fighting. Anyway, let us know what your thoughts are. Tomorrow, the New Jersey episode's out. I can't wait for that.
New Jersey, I feel like it's starting to... I feel like often the stories are repetitive, but I like the new girls. I like Danielle. I like Rachel.
I like Jen as well, the new one.
The funny one. Kind of, I feel like it's a good mix of people that, again, are helping to mix. I mean, some of the same stories, but I feel like that's okay. New Jersey is very much family. That's the thing. And then seeing how things... So, I'm intrigued.
Let us know if you want us to start our own little Bravo podcast, because I feel like we watch all the Housewives anyways. We have all the same opinions when it comes to reality TV, so it just flows, which is why this is 40 damn minutes. This would just be our conversations on the sofa. We were just talking for like 20 minutes.
Started, man. I feel like this is even reduced.
The way we just were talking about Housewives, and we have the same opinions. Let us know if you agree or disagree, and we will catch you guys soon for another review. Not 40 minutes, child. This was a whole shift.
Man. Woo!
Clocked in and clocked out.
Yeah, come and see what's Love Island. We were scrabbling for them 16 minutes.
Not your coat being warm now.
Oh, I know, man. I forgot.
Because on the radiator, I'm actually dead.
Yeah, I think we'll be good.
We'll see what next week gives. I'm excited for next week, though. Potomac.
Yeah, it'll be good to see how it ends, especially Chris. Oh, really? Chris really came with that statement. Basically saying you ruined my life vibes.